Okay, so we've been talking about the new employee experience. We started by talking about what new employees are looking for today. I talked about things like they want to feel a sense of commitment. They want to feel a sense of purpose with an organization, a sense of community, right, and empowerment. Then we talked about an actual onboarding process and what that contains. I told you that it should have a framework where you think about it in 5 particular ways. 1, all of the activities that you do prior to the employee coming on board. Then you have your onboarding process divided into 4 specific parts: the first day, the first week, the first month, and the first 90 days. Then we talked about the 5 different generations that are in the workforce. And why did I talk about those? Well, I wanted to give you some characteristics so you had a clear understanding of kind of what makes them tick and what they're all about. And by doing that, it can help you design your whole new employee experience accordingly. For example, if you're hiring a new person that, let's say, was a baby boomer or a veteran, your onboarding process and your new employee experience may be lean more on face-to-face type of communication. Whereas if your new hire was more of, let's say, a millennial or a Gen Zer, more activities in your new employee orientation or your onboarding process might be more technology-based. So I just wanted to give you kind of some background to help you plan and put it together accordingly. So now what I want to do is kind of talk about what the results of that will be and then just kind of recap what that would look like again. So again, if you do your new employee experience right, you're going to have several results ultimately. First, your new employee is going to have a level of autonomy. What do I mean by that? The new employee is going to start to gain confidence and be willing to put in extra effort to get the job done because you've taken the time, energy, and effort to make them feel a part of the organization through your new employee experiences. If you do it right, it's going to lead to this sense of accountability, meaning that you're going to have clear and realistic goals for the new employee. And when those goals are clear and realistic, it amplifies their engagement. Think about it. If I know exactly what it is you want me to do, where you want me to go, and I also think that what you're asking me to do is realistic with the resources you've provided me, then I'm going to be really fired up to make sure I do that. The other thing your new employee experience does is it gives an employee a sense of mastery. Okay? You do that by constantly giving them feedback during those first 90 days. By giving them feedback, it helps the employee kind of see I'm making steady progress toward what it is, the goal that we're trying to reach. So by the time they get to the end of 90 days, they feel like they have a real true handle on what it is they were hired to do. And then if you do it right, ultimately, they're going to have this huge contribution to your organization. That new employee is going to feel like they're having an impact. Remember what I told you at the beginning of this. New employees today want to feel like they have a purpose in your organization. Yes, it's a job, but I don't want to feel like I'm just coming to work. I want to feel like when I leave your job or leave my job for the day, that I fulfilled something, that I have a purpose. And if you take employees through a new employee experience, a well-designed onboarding process, you're going to have them feel that level of contribution. So again, to recap, it's important because it leads to a sense of autonomy for the employee, okay, gaining that confidence and having them put in that extra effort. It leads to a sense of accountability, meaning that the goal is clear and realistic and they can achieve it. It leads to a sense of mastery. Constant feedback, especially in those first 90 days, makes them feel like I can accomplish this. And that all leads to the employee feeling like they are making an impact and having a sincere contribution to the efforts of your organization. Now, there are some things that you can do early on to make an employee not want to stick around, okay? And I want to make sure I take a little time to walk you through some of the ways that you could actually disengage. Do you know that an employee can decide within 1 week that this was a wrong decision for them? Have you ever purchased something and you have what they call buyer's remorse? You get it home and you look at it and you go, I don't know why I purchased this. I don't know why I bought this. I shouldn't have bought this. I don't know if this was the right idea, a good idea, whatever the case may be. Well, guess what? Employees do the same thing with jobs. They also have employment remorse. And there are certain things that you can do within your organization that can make them have that buyer's remorse. So I want to take some time to kind of walk through 8 very specific things that you can do to disengage an employee in that first week of employment. Some of these might apply to your organization, some of them not so much. It really kind of depends on the size and how you're structured. Some of these apply to any organization, depending on the size or structure. So let's walk through it. What's the first one? The workstation, right? Now, that doesn't seem like a big deal, but think about the message that you're sending. If on the very first day that a brand new employee is coming in to start working for you, that their workstation is not clean, and it's not ready for them to do work. Remember when I said the things that you should be doing prior to them getting there? One simple thing to do is make sure that they have a workstation and make sure it's prepared, it's clean. Do they have to have a computer? Okay, if they have to have a computer, you should have the computer there. It should be there, it should be hooked up, it should be ready to go. Is there some kind of access that they need? That access should already be on there. Their first day on the job shouldn't be the day that you're running around going, we need to find you a laptop. We need to get you access. It's not a good look. It makes you just look disorganized, okay? Or their first day of work, you really don't even have their workstation cleared out. You're like, oh yeah, you're gonna sit over there. They walk over there and it's kind of clear that maybe somebody else has been sitting there, or God forbid, the previous employee's stuff is still kind of there. When I say stuff, not their personal belongings, but maybe like some of their work stuff. Even if you go and clean it up and make it neat, the point is you want the new employee to feel engaged, welcomed. So the least you could do is clean up their workspace, make it inviting, and make sure they have all the resources they need to do their job on day one. Here's a simple way to think about it. When you invite somebody to your house for the first time, what do? You clean up your house. How come we don't do that for employees on the first day? Another thing that you can do, that very first day, when you try to cram way too much information into an orientation, that's what I see a lot of companies do. The very first day of work is orientation day, and they slap an employee in front of a computer and they give them a 15-hour online orientation all day. Let me tell you something. It's boring, it's disengaging, it's not fun. You can do the orientation over the course of the first week. Maybe save that orientation for like their 3rd or 4th day after they've done some of the other more fun stuff. An employee is not stupid. They understand that there is some administrative things that they have to do. But you need to frame it and put it in a way where it's not this mundane first day on the job. The very first thing you have me doing is sitting in front of a computer doing 20 hours of just information sessions all day. An employee will go home that day and go, I don't know if this is the place for me. Okay? Cultural adaptation. Remember we talked about the culture. So when you're hiring for people, one of the things that you want to make sure you're doing is hiring for cultural fit. If you're hiring for cultural fit, meaning people that share your values, then this cultural adaptation becomes an easier thing. Because when you bring this person on board, they're going to look at the organization the same way you do. If you don't hire people for cultural fit, their first day on the job, they're instantly going to feel like, I'm in the wrong place. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have a culture in your organization of teamwork, and it's a very open, festive, loud type of environment. That's not a bad thing. That's just the culture that you have. Well, the person that you hired is someone that's a little more of an introverted, quiet, likes to work alone individual. Well, when they walk in the door on the very first day and they see all this going on, they're instantly going to be like, I don't know if this is the place for me. So how do you do that? One of the things you do is understand what your culture is and make sure that you're hiring for fit. That's one of my 4 jewels that I like to talk about with employees. Another thing, failing to address generational needs and differences. That was the whole point of me talking about the 4 generations and having an understanding on different characteristics of how they work and how they operate. At least having an understanding of that is going to help you when you're dealing with them, when you're providing resources, right? For example, we talked about how Generation X likes direct feedback, right? So in that first week, when you're talking to a person from a Gen X group about things, you might want to be a little more direct. Whereas if you've hired a millennial who loves a whole lot of feedback and praise, maybe over the course of that first week, you want to make sure you're engaging in those types of things, okay? Here's one that a lot of people don't think about. When you hire somebody and you give them their start date, why do you have them start on a day when you're not going to be there? Or why would you schedule something on the day that you know you have a new employee starting in your organization, especially if you're a small business? You need to make sure that you don't have those 2 things conflict. It's always a good idea for you to be there the day that your new hire starts. You want to be the one to welcome them. You want to be the one to walk them around the office and introduce them to everybody. It sends a message to that new employee that you are excited that they're there and you are welcoming them to the team, okay? This next one, using org charts and relying on them to explain communication. Now again, this will depend on how large your business is. If you have a smaller business, this may not apply as much. But for those of you that have larger businesses, if you're depending strictly on your org chart to show how lines of communication goes, you're going to lose me in the first week. What you should be doing, remember I talked about that first week or even that first day, is having some kind of team meeting. Or maybe in that first week, you have the new employee go meet with those individuals in individual departments or sit in their department meetings to establish those lines of communication. Here's another thing, assuming that a new hire can't be productive from the start. Remember I said in your onboarding process, one of the things you want to do is give them something to actually do. So give them some work, okay? They can do things when they start, all right? So again, these are some of the things that you can do that can disengage an employee in the very first week of employment, okay? So to kind of wrap everything up, just kind of wanted to give you a visual again to kind of look at an example of what a new hire onboarding map would look like. We've kind of talked about this. Some of the things that you can do before the first day, what you do on the first day, the first week, the first 90 days. And again, like I said before, you don't have to do all of these. These things may not fit your organization, but I just wanted to give you some ideas, kind of a laundry list of things to do. The point is, you want to have a very well thought out, developed onboarding process with planned activities over the course of these various checkpoints to make an employee feel more engaged and feel like they are welcomed into your organization. And if you do those things, you're going to make that new employee experience great for them, and they will help take your organization to the next level. Thank you so much, and I hope I was able to give you some tools that can help your business.